So I was woken up around 3:30 this morning, and they, I don't know, Prime Creator, my guides, whatever, they started working on me, just giving me massive amounts of frequency to integrate, and like already getting some information to talk about today. So it's pretty full on. So buckle up, get your water, stay grounded. I don't know what's going to come through today, but it feels pretty full on to me. So I am going to start with a question actually about Sedona, because it's monsoon season right now. And what's been happening almost every day since the end of June is we have rain in the forecast, and the rain will come like really close to Sedona, and then it will just, something happens and it disappears and goes around us. And so we're not getting rain. And I'm starting to wonder, is there something going on? Is there something in Sedona that's repelling the rain? Is there some, vortex or energy, or, I would love to know what's happening. So we're going to ask Prime Creator about that in the very beginning, and then we'll go into the August forecast. Dear ones, Sedona is going through some very massive and intense energetic upgrades, and this is affecting the weather. The frequency there is being massively increased. This is a temporary effect that it is having on the rains. Do not worry, dear ones, you will receive the rains. You will receive what is needed. But this is an energy that is running until about the end of your July 2022. Dear ones, before we move fully into the August energy forecast, it is important to understand what is currently happening on your planet. And that is that the entire planet is moving to a new timeline. Many of you individually have been quantum jumping. You have been moving to higher frequency timelines. And there is enough momentum now, enough frequency build to support the entire planet into moving to a higher frequency timeline. This is very good news, dear ones. And it also does mean that it is a very intense experience for some. So I will explain a bit more. Those who are embodying the planet and the planetary energy will feel this very intensely, because you are also serving to hold space for this transition to a higher frequency timeline. So you will feel it in your body, you will feel it emotionally, you will feel it spiritually, energetically, etc. And depending on your wiring, some of you will feel this more in your body, more in your spirit. It simply depends on the role you play in your wiring. But there are many of you listening to this who are embodying planetary energy. And so this transition, this quantum leap to this new timeline, you will feel this very intensely. Those who are awakening and learning how to integrate these higher frequency energies, you will also feel this very intensely, because it is like a blast of energy to your system. Some of you are serving a great role in this transition as well, but you are not feeling this as intensely. And it is because of your wiring. It is for some of you because you have done so much work with integrating the light frequencies that you are not feeling this transition as much, because you have already embodied the new frequency timeline for planet Earth. And so I invite you, dear ones, do not compare yourselves to another. Do not compare your experience to another. But I am simply explaining all of this so that if you are in an experience where you are going through some intensity, or it feels like your circuits have been blown, or perhaps you have even gotten sick, this is part of why, because your bodies are processing all of this energy, especially those of you who are working with embodying the energy of planet Earth. This timeline jump, again, will be complete at or around the end of your month of July 2022. And during this time, dear ones, I encourage you to work with grounding your multidimensional bodies, because this timeline jump involves your multidimensional aspects. If you are only able to or working to ground your physical human bodies, you will get great benefit from this, but it will be even more powerful if you are able to ground your multi-dimensional bodies. This is very important at this time, dear ones. Many of you are activating and being activated and awakening your multi-dimensional aspects, and this requires a greater conscious awareness of these multidimensional parts of yourselves, and this requires them to be grounded to the heart of the cosmos and to planet Earth. And this will keep you centered, feeling more balanced and secure, and feeling more safe. This timeline jump that you are currently experiencing on your planet is not a full reset. It is an increase in frequency for the planet and for life on this planet. We are taking you through this in stages so that as many souls as possible can make this leap. And as always, dear ones, during times like this, it is important to stay hydrated, eat food that nourishes and supports your body, and to go out into nature as often as possible to get the energetic codes and signatures from nature to support, because nature has an inherent understanding of this process and can give you support when you spend time with the trees, with the water, with the rocks. Even to stand in the rain and allow yourself to be cleansed. This is a helpful activity, dear ones. Dear ones, for August, I invite you to ride the waves. The light energies will be streaming and pulsing into your planetary experience to a very high degree. And as you probably know by now, what this means is that you will have moments of bliss and joy, and you will have moments perhaps where you feel utter despair, anger, grief. Those of you who are personally jumping timelines may experience grief of leaving your old life behind. Allow this to happen, dear ones. For those of you for whom this resonates, allow yourself to leave your old life behind and not to re-engage in old patterns, old ways of being, old ways of living. Allow yourself to receive a new life, a new experience, a new reality. Many of you are at the stage where you are digging deeper into shadow work and integration. And so there are different experiences you may have with this, because the waves of light are absolutely supportive of you being able to work through shadow issues very quickly. And yet it may also feel very intense, and it may feel like the issues are coming up in a fast and furious manner, where you don't get much of a breather in between. You may feel like once you have resolved something, something else immediately shows up. You are on the fast track now, dear ones. And so while this may not feel like a joyous experience at times, please understand, dear ones, that you are deeply supported in your healing process. And this very fast clearing and healing will allow you to step into your new life more quickly. And so do your best to ride the waves, do your best to go with this. As shadow issues arise, do your best to confront and face them. Now, the other wave that you will be riding is integrating your light. Because there is so much light pouring in, it will illuminate and amplify your own light. It will illuminate and amplify your power. It will illuminate and amplify your heart, your souls. Do your best to breathe with the light, dear ones. And what I mean by this is to breathe with your own light, to feel it and sense it and know it in your bodies, and to breathe with the external light coming internal. When you breathe consciously with the light in this way, it is easier to integrate. It is settling for your body. It is grounding. It is balancing and centering. So do your best to breathe with the light, dear ones. Your entire month of August will be like this, with waves of light energy continuing to pulse and stream to your planet. And so if you can surrender to these waves, if you can surrender to the rhythm of how the light is moving now, you will find it to be much easier. If you resist the light, if you resist your shadow, you will make things much more difficult for yourself. And so whatever arises, whether it is light or shadow, do your best to confront, embrace, accept, allow. Give me a moment with this channel, please, dear ones. Dear ones, it is also important to understand that your bodies are going through significant resets at this time. What this can look like is smooth and easy. It can look like old pains or old injuries in your body revealing themselves again. It can feel like emotional disruption, emotional sensitivity. Any part of your bodies that are out of balance may feel triggered. So, in other words, if you have heart issues, you may feel more issues with blood pressure or heart palpitations or constriction around the heart. This does not mean something bad is happening. This means that the heart is adjusting to the new frequencies. It is resetting itself. If you have an old back injury, you may feel pain again where you used to feel it, even if you felt the issue was resolved. It is not the injury returning. It is the energies of the old injury resurfacing and resetting to a higher frequency. And so it is important simply to notice and observe what is happening with the body and not become attached to any old illnesses or injuries, thinking that they are back in the body again. I just need to take a break for a minute. The frequencies are working on my body. It's really intense. I just need to.
As you mentioned, that multi-dimensional body grounding. I don't know whether Susie had a meditation for it, or do you have a suggestion how to do that?
Yes, dear ones, it is quite involved. There are meditations in the creation temple that she has created for this that can be used.
As you mentioned, with a new timeline, what can you see for the rest of the year? As I see what's going on here in the world, that Sri Lanka thing, the protest from the Netherlands. I watched a couple videos where the doctors are coming together and coming out what's going on. Is it getting worse? With worse, I mean, as you mentioned, everything has to come to the light, has to be come out, and the old has to be taken down to get the new one. And also, I'm not afraid of if it getting worse here.
Yes, dear one. So what is happening and what will continue to happen are more timeline jumps like this, where there will be a greater ability for planet Earth and humanity to make these quantum leaps. And so you will experience this with more frequency now as more momentum has been building for this. In terms of disclosure, yes, this will be happening more and more. As of now, it will happen in small ways with smaller groups of people. It is not yet ready or ripe for mainstream media. You will see some smaller things on mainstream media, but not the massive disclosure as of yet. In terms of getting worse, this depends on how humanity responds to these energies. If humanity embraces and integrates the light, you will start to see things shift very quickly for the better, with food restoration, restoration of supplies. If humanity resists the light and does not embrace it, then you may see things getting worse in terms of food shortages, power outages, water being depleted on certain parts of the planet, and more shadow manipulation, more ability for fear to work on humanity in a negative way. And so it depends on what you as humans do in terms of whether or not your situation on the planet will get worse. I will say, dear ones, for those of you who are understanding what is occurring and keeping yourself in higher frequencies, you will be less affected. You will be affected in some ways at the physical level. In other words, perhaps you go to the grocery store and there will not be supplies on the shelves. But emotionally, spiritually, and in terms of your health and well-being, you will prevail. You will triumph. You will have a more smooth experience of these transitions.
Thank you, Creator. With what you just shared, is there a possibility that Earth realities will split into two, and there will be the 5D reality and also the 3D reality simultaneously existing?
Yes, dear one, and this is already happening. As in several conversations ago, we discussed how the higher frequencies are able to coexist with the lower frequencies in ways that were not possible before. Timelines are overlapping and moving together in ways that were not possible before. And so you are already experiencing this to some degree, where some people in your life are vibrating at a different frequency than you, but you are able to maintain your frequency while in their presence. This is just an example of one way that this is working now that it did not work before.
But with that being said, is there ways for the awakening ones and the ones who are doing their work and integrating more and more of these frequencies? Is there anything that we can do with your light for the collective to come out from under the manipulation and have a knowing outside their fear reality? Is there something that we can do with your light to help that?
Yes, dear one, the simple answer is to embody it, to allow yourself to be a channel for the light, a container for the light, a beacon of the light. And this does not need to be done in a way where you act as a flashlight or a laser beam to shine it onto somebody's shadow who is not ready to see themselves. But this is a soft emanation, I will say, so that as you embody the light, you are simply being it, emanating it, and those who wish to receive will, and those who wish to do not receive won't, but to allow each person their choice.
You have a final message for the people and the group?
Allow, dear ones, allow, accept, and allow and surrender Do your best to ride the waves of energies. Do your best to observe from 0 point energy. And pay attention to the little things in your personal lives, meaning when your friend or significant other triggers you, to pay attention to these triggers, what they are truly about. Even the most advanced among you still has wounds or things you are working with, bringing to completion and healing. You are still finding your wholeness. And so pay attention to these subtleties. Do not brush them aside. They are important for your growth. It is also important not to become too engaged with the news, with what you see happening. So much of it is smoke and mirrors, I will say. And yes, while there are people suffering and people dying and people being affected by all of this illusion, it is not real in the way that you think it is. And so I do not wish to dismiss any suffering or pain that people are experiencing from the hologram. But more and more of you must transcend the hologram. You must see through the illusion that has been presented to you. You must remember your true power and what you are capable of. Be diligent and disciplined with your mind. If you feel yourself or catch yourself thinking toxic thoughts, change your thoughts. Do not allow them to overtake your mind. If you feel your emotional body becoming overwhelmed and it is difficult to be around people or difficult to be with yourself, take time to nourish your emotional body, to refine your center and your grounding. Otherwise, this is a tremendous energy leak, and this is where your energy can be harvested by the shadow. So be diligent and vigilant with your emotional bodies as well. And then, of course, dear ones, to take exquisite care of the physical body. As you are going through these resets and upgrades, and they will continue, you may feel things in your physical bodies. And again, to not get attached to, oh, this injury is back, or I am sick again, but to simply allow the old energy to leave your physical body. And I will explain this a bit more. When someone is ill or when they are sick, there is a cellular memory formed within your cellular matrix. Your body remembers this. And for quite some time, this was a type of protection for the body, because if this was triggered again, the body had defenses against it. But we are moving past these times, dear ones. You no longer need to hold the cellular memories of illness or injuries in your bodies. This is no longer needed, dear ones. I hope you can understand what I am saying. This means you can fully release anything in your physical bodies that was of a lower frequency. In the past, it served as a degree of protection. It is no longer needed, dear ones. You can release diabetes. You can release shoulder injuries. You can release the patterns and frequencies of endocrine system disruption. You can release high blood pressure. You can release the neuronal patterning of strokes or nervous system issues. You no longer need these cellular memories, dear ones. You no longer need to store these things in your cellular matrix. For many of you, it would be helpful to go on a cellular detox where you are working at the spiritual level with this and at the physical level while supporting your body with minerals and nutrients and vitamins to reset your cellular matrix to a new frequency of freedom and transcending these old patterns. I thank you, dear ones. Thank you, Prime Creator. So I just want to share a few things with those of you watching this video. There was a question about multidimensional grounding. It's pretty involved, and so I kind of filtered Prime Creator's message because I didn't want to take up 20 minutes to go into it. But I do have in the Creation Temple, I do have several multidimensional grounding meditations that you can use. So if you sign up as a Sacred Creator, you can access those. Also, I will share an experience that happened while I was channeling, while Prime Creator was talking about, the first time Prime Creator was talking about old injuries and things being cleared out of the body. I had a very massive experience of that happening during the channeling. And so I kind of had to stop and let that happen before I could resume the channeling. So it's happening, you guys. And I personally have some friends who have been going through massive upgrades and resets at the physical body level. And these are very, high frequency beings who do similar work to myself. So when I observe, 3 people going through that, I pay attention because it's a theme. So it's like, okay, what's going on? And so this morning when I was woken up at 3:30, some of these things were explained to me so I could bring them through for you today. So thank you, Prime Creator. This is massive to be able to release these cellular memories. This is massive for our abilities to self-heal. So I invite you to take that on board and to start working with that. One of the things I do is I ask my body and I ask myself, how does it feel? Questions. So you can ask yourself things like, how does it feel to release the cellular memory of that accident I was in when I was 6? How does it feel for my body to release the cellular memory of chronic fatigue syndrome? How does it feel for my body to release, and you can insert your own trauma experiences in there. So this is exciting. We are moving into very exciting times. And thank you for watching my videos. I appreciate you. I love you. I will see you in the next one.